No? Okay. That's what we have to see. We're running a Kenwood receiver, so maybe it's something out of that Kenwood. But that's what we were seeing on that. We also noticed that, my radio that's sitting here on a normal squelch was starting to pop squelch because the noise level was coming up. And didn't put a lot of this together at the first part of it. When it happened, strong signals, and I think Dwayne said he was 50 dB over 9 or 8,000 watts right next to the repeater or something. So a couple people got in, and people on the fringe were not getting in. We got our Aurora pictures, and then we started listening to Tamitha Scove. Anybody here listening to Tamitha Scove, Space Weather Woman? You should. She was starting to report auroral activity on their stuff. Oh, that's kind of weird. At that time, I had talked to Middell, and Middell said, yeah, we have those weekends, and we call them high power weekends. I said, what? Yeah, everybody knows that if it's really bad, you just got to go to high power or use the big antennas for whenever it happens. I went, oh, it's not just us, it's somebody else. And Edmund had reported some of the same kind of stuff that they didn't have as much details as high power weekend, but those two also did. Add your names to the group. You're not part of the deal. So we decided to bring in the experts. I'm section manager. I should know everybody. I sent 10 messages out. See these guys, the big antennas, they should know about noise. Nah, didn't know nothing. Didn't do anything for us. I got 2 responses from that query. One was Paul Harriman, N0NBH. You may not know the name, but everybody understand what that little thing on the right-hand side is? The little map of the solar activity? He's the guy that puts that together.
Is that his correct last name?
I believe it is.
I thought it was like H-E.
I believe it
Harry.
is.
Herman. Paul Herman, I thought.
There you go. Yes.
Is it?
Terry's correct. So is Tom. He just told me.
H-E-R-R.
H-E-R-R. Okay.
It's Herman, yeah.
Herman. Great.
Well,
Anyway, Paul is the guy that makes that little chart on the right. His response was pretty wild. And basically it says, I don't think the auroral activity would happen that far south. And go to Wiki.
Yeah, that's his name at the bottom.
Go to the Wiki. Oh, okay, there it is. Go to Wiki, and they'll have some weather stuff. Go look at that. You're bothering me. Oh, that's no good. So then we hit Space Weather Woman, and we talked about that earlier. If you've not watched her, her job is to take care of our national resources for Air Force folks, for Space Force folks, for ISS folks. If there's any weather pulses coming through, she has to warn those places, and her and others make plans that they move the thing out of the orbit or they change atmospheric positioning of that satellite to hopefully make it better for that piece. So she does a lot of this stuff. I thought I would try her out. So I searched her big time, and I found one article, I think it's 50s or 60s, that talked out as a DTIC. Do you military folks know what that means?
Defense Technical Information Center.
So they should know what they're talking about. Oh, good. But that's the only article that I could find about VHF noise. And it was a good article, but it said, we see stuff there at 200 megahertz. We see at least down to 200 megahertz. We don't know what it is. That was their final thing. It was basically, be aware, but don't worry about it. We can't do anything about it. They attribute it to atmosphere, is what they do. So noise floor, when this happens, the noise floor goes up. Same story I had before. Every time it happens, hey Tamitha, your stuff matches our Aurora stuff. Is there a way you can do this? Patrick Roberts, anybody know Patrick Roberts? Yeah. Patrick's an engineer, broadcast engineer for KGOU and others. And he had a deal on his website at the time that actually said, we are experiencing high atmospheric noise. Here are the other translator stations that you can try to go chase that down if you wish to fix that. We also noticed, one of our people noticed that Channel 13, public TV, who's at 205 megahertz, also would lose the signal. It'd be tough. This guy was pulling it off the ear. He's the only one, I think, in the state that's still doing off the ear stuff. But he was pulling it off the ear, and it would drop down signal on that pace. That 205 is in the band that the DTIC folks talked about. Tamitha's response back, first of all, I got a response. I was tickled. Tamitha's response back was, theoretically, VHF isn't supposed to be affected by solar storms. But until we understand all of the various processes in the ionosphere, we can't definitely say we understand much when it comes to propagation at any radio frequency. Now, went on to say that typically immunity was given to the GPS frequencies. They're in that 1.5 gigahertz range. And her story was, recent research has shown that ionospheric scintillation is also active, especially during aurora, or transient ionospheric disturbances and waves, even at 1.67 and above. So we know what happens at HF. We now know what happens at 1.67 gigahertz. You think this noise stops at VHF? And says, nope, you're all okay. No, it does not. So her answer is, I would absolutely believe VHF frequencies could suffer similar issues, which was kind of cool. Okay, now we're not crazy. That was good. But we're not crazy, but her suggestions were to document the noise, which we started doing, look into the AE indexes, and she gave me a link to a place that collects 14 different receivers from around the world. All of them are at the 60-degree mark, way up north, because nobody thought it would happen down this far south. They've been chasing those numbers since 1957. So we got all the numbers back to 57. She said correlate the noise with the AE index, see what happens. Her story was anything over 500 on the AE scale is substorm, and it should be looked at. So 500 is a good starting point on their number. You'll see the scale shortly. For those of you that aren't familiar with auroral pictures, these are the ones you're looking at. So when you see these, expect noise on your